Shalom Israel. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rekah Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, to the Akims on the highways and byways and pushing videos in truth and sincerity, to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, what I want to go over, I don't want this to be too long, but one of the reasons that Yahushai came was to put us back to being one kingdom. And I just want to go over a few scriptures to show that, we're actually we're known as two kingdoms and two nations. And religion don't really teach that. Like when we read about the Jews in the New Testament, they're normally referred to as if it's the whole 12 tribes. When we see the word Jew, it's normally spoken as if it's referring to all of the kingdom, when it's only really speaking about half the kingdom, and that's the southern kingdom. So just want to go through some of the scriptures to show that we're actually two nations and two kingdoms, and Yahushua actually came back to join us back together to make us one. Now this is 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 1. It says, "But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites." It says, "Of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go in to them, neither shall ye come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon claimed unto these in love." So Solomon, as we would say today, was a bit of a gallus. He loved many women of different nations, and that was one of the issues why we ended up splitting into two nations and two kingdoms. Now this is verse 5. It says, "For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father." So, like we read in Deuteronomy 7:3, when the Lord told us not to deal with these other nations, one of the things he said is that they'll turn our hearts away from him. And this is what happened to King Solomon. That's why when you read Nehemiah 13:23, it says that, didn't King Solomon sin? The sin that he ended up doing was going after the gods, after these other nations, because we ended up going with them, which we were told not to do. This is verse 11. It says, "Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, For as much as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant." So lucky Israel. "Notwithstanding, in thy days I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Howbeit I will not rend away all the kingdom, but will give one tribe to thy son for David my servant's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, which I have chosen." So this is the Lord letting King Solomon know what his intentions are, because he was going after these women of these other nations. And when we jump down, I'm going to be jumping back and forth a bit in this chapter here. So verse 34 is, "Albeit I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I chose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. So the Z that he's speaking about, and I'm going to jump back up, this was speaking to Jeroboam. And as it says here, Solomon, the kingdom weren't going to be split while Solomon still ruled. This was going to happen after he had died. So this is when we jump back up to verse 28. It says, "And the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon seen the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph." Now I'm going to read down to 32. It says, And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, Slakia, that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces. So as Jeroboam was going, he met the prophet, who ended up tearing his garment into 12 pieces. And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have 1 tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. So this is Ahijah the prophet letting Jeroboam know what the Lord had in which his intention was, which was to split the kingdom in two and to give part of it to him, and as we're going to read, the other would go to Rehoboam, Solomon's son. So this is verse 30. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. And the time that Solomon, verse 42, and the time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father. And Rehoboam his son reigned in his stead. So when Solomon found out what was going to happen, he looked to kill Jeroboam, and Jeroboam fled into Egypt. And after he died, the kingdom then went over to his son. Rehoboam took over. So this is 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel were come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass, when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, he was fled from the presence of King Solomon. Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt, as we just read, that he fled to Egypt, that they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and is every yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. Salakia, Israel. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. So they came to him now, to Rehoboam, because he was ruling over Israel, and saying, Look, your father made our yokes heavy. Release the yoke, and we will come and serve thee. But now, what he did, he went to the elders, who advised him to release the yoke. But instead of taking their advice, he went to his brethren that he grew up with. He told him the total opposite. So when they came back to him now, this is what happened. Verse 16, 1 Kings 12, verse 16 says, So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, because he listened to his brethren, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David? Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed unto their tents. Verse 17, But as for the children of Israel which dwelt in the cities of Judah, Rehoboam reigned over them. So you're going to find out that some of the tribes left Rehoboam, and we're going to read which ones actually stayed with Rehoboam. It says, so verse 19, So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day. Yeah. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribe of Judah only. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, and 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel, to bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam the son of Solomon. So there was a split there now, and some went with Jeroboam, Judah, you're going to find that the tribe of Judah stayed with Rehoboam, but also there was a remnant of the other tribes that also stayed with Rehoboam. And we're going to read about that in a sec. Well, that stayed because after Rehoboam died, other kings took over, and you're going to find out that some of the tribes, the other tribes that was under Jeroboam, stayed with the what would be known as the southern kingdom. Because after the split, those that were under Jeroboam was known as the northern kingdom, and those under Rehoboam was known as the southern kingdom. So it says, verse 22, but the word of the Lord came unto Shemaiah the man of God, saying, speak unto Rehoboam the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin. So this was who came under the house of Judah. So when we read about the Jews in the New Testament, it's speaking about Judah, Benjamin, and there were also Levites there, because we read about the Jews in the New Testament keeping the commandments, and we know that the Levites, they were the ones who had the command of the temple and were doing the services. So it says, speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and unto all the house of Judah and Benjamin, and the remnant of the people, saying, so it says, and the remnant of the people. Now when we go to 2nd Chronicles, you're going to see that there was a few of the other tribes that actually stayed with the house of Judah, which was known as the southern kingdom. So this is 2nd Chronicles 15 and 8. And when Asa heard these words and the prophecy of Obed the prophet, he took courage and put away the abominable idols out of all the land of Judah and Benjamin, and out of the cities which he had taken from Mount Ephraim, and renewed the altar of the Lord that was before the porch of the Lord. And he gathered all Judah and Benjamin, so this is the southern kingdom, and the strangers with them out of Ephraim and Manasseh and out of Simeon, for they fell to him out of Israel in abundance when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. So some of the other tribes actually came and dwelt amongst what was known as the southern kingdom, the house of Judah. Now, when you read the history of what happened, you see that the kings that ruled over the northern kingdom, the majority of them went off badly. And also over the southern kingdom, a lot of the kings went off, but a number of them still stayed faithful to the law, statutes and commandments. But because of how badly the northern kingdom was going off, the Lord ended up cutting them off from being his people. Now this is Hosea chapter 1 and 1. It says, the word of the Lord that came unto Hosea the son of Berai in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam the son of Joash, king of Israel. So this is speaking about the kings that ruled over the northern kingdom, which is known as the house of Israel, and the southern kingdom was known as the house of Judah. And in the New Testament they're referred to as Jews. So when you hear the term Jew in the New Testament, it's not actually speaking about the whole 12 tribes. It's just speaking about one half of the kingdom, which is the southern kingdom known as the house of Judah, which consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and there were also the Levites were there, remnant of the Levites who did the services in the synagogues, and also a remnant of the other tribes. Now it says, verse 2, the beginning of the word of the Lord by Hosea. And the Lord said to Hosea, go take unto thee a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms, for the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from the Lord. So he went and took Gomer the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. So what we're going to be reading about here now, because the northern kingdom went off kind of badly into idolatry, we're going to see that the Lord actually cut them off from being his people. And Hosea is going to have some children, and each one of these children are a judgment upon the northern kingdom. And this is verse 4. And the Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel. Let me check. I'll read verse 3 again. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, which conceived and bare him a son. So this is the first child. And the Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel. For yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. So it says the kingdom. Yeah? This is speaking about the northern kingdom. Because the southern kingdom was called the house of Judah. And it came to pass at that day that I will break, and it shall come to pass at that day, Slakia, that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, call her name Lerumah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. So this is the second judgment upon the house of Israel, upon the northern kingdom. It says, but I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by a battle, by a horse, nor by horsemen. And this is the third child now. And now when she had weaned Lerumah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said God, call his name Loami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God. So each one of these three children was a judgment upon the northern kingdom, also known as the house of Israel. And the Most High cut them off from being his people. Yeah, that's why it says, for ye are not my people, and I would not be your God. Now, this is Hosea 9 and 16. It says, Ephraim is smitten. Ephraim was the head tribe over the northern kingdom. It says, Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up. They shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb. My God will cast them away, because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations. So this is, when you read the book of Hosea, it goes into a lot of the judgments and stuff upon the northern kingdom. What happened there? Got two of the same, Slakia Israel. So as we read in verse 1, there was judgment brought upon the northern kingdom, and the Lord cut them off. Now this is Hosea 8 verse 2. It says, Israel shall cry unto me, my God, we know thee. Israel has cast off the thing that is good. The enemy shall pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. So like I was saying, one of the main issues with the northern kingdom is that they went deeply into idolatry. And this was why the Lord cut them off from being his people. Now when he did that now, he said to the southern kingdom, this is Hosea chapter 4, verse 17, says, Ephraim is joined to, hold on, before I get that. This is Isaiah chapter 7 and 8. It says, for the head of Syria is Damascus. And this is just going into showing more scriptures to show that the northern kingdom was actually cut off from being God's people. So it says, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. So the northern kingdom, as we read in Hosea 1 and 9, for ye are not my people, now I will not be your God. Hosea 8 and 4. Let me quickly grab that again. Hosea 8 and 4. You know, where the Lord said, they have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. And we come to Isaiah 7 and 8. It says, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin, and within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. So the Lord actually cut off the northern kingdom from being his people. So, you know, part of Yahushua dying, yeah, was to bring us all back to being one nation. And we're going to show that through the scriptures. Now, this is after the Lord cut off the northern kingdom from being his people, this is what he said to the southern kingdom now, to the house of Judah. This is Hosea chapter 4, verse 17. It says, Ephraim is joined to idols, let them alone. So when you read about Gentiles in the New Testament, yeah, it's talking about the northern kingdom, because they were now looked upon as Gentiles, yeah, and it's also talking about during the period of the Maccabees, you know, when the Greeks, the period of the Greeks, I put it that way, where we were forced, a number of us was forced to take on the customs of the Gentiles. Yeah, those who took on the customs, because you had the Maccabees who fought to keep the customs of the fathers. Yeah, so they looked on those who took on the customs of these other nations as Gentiles. So when you're reading in the New Testament and you hear about Gentiles, that's speaking about the remnant of the northern kingdom that was amongst them, and you can read about that in John chapter 4, the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. Yeah, actually let me quickly get that, because she was of the northern kingdom. This is why she said what she said. And it's also talking about the other house of Israel, the northern kingdom, who was actually cut off from being his people, and also those of the southern kingdom who took on the customs of the Gentiles under the Greeks. So John chapter 4, and this is the woman at the well. I'll start at verse 5. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near to the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. Yahushua therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the wall, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahushua saith unto her, Give me to drink. Now, if you look at the way, and this also proves that Yahushua only came for the house of Israel, like he said in Matthew 15:24. Because when you read Matthew 15:24, the woman that came to him was a Canaanite. And what did he do? He just ignored her. Whereas this sister here, yeah, he knew that she was of the other kingdom, the northern kingdom, yeah, but he spoke to her because he actually came for the children of Israel. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Yahushua saith unto her, Give me to drink, for his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest me of drink, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans, because they were, remember, we just read in Hosea, the northern kingdom was cut off from being a people, so they looked at them as Gentiles. Yeah? And this is why she's saying the Jews have no dealing with the Samaritans. Let me quickly bring out another precept quickly to show that that era there belonged to the northern kingdom, who were known, who were known as Gentiles. I believe this is it. This is Matthew chapter 4. Yeah. Matthew chapter 4 verse 12. Now when Yahushua had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed into Galilee, and leaving Nazareth he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. So there were still Israelites in that land who were referred to as Gentiles. Where was I? Give me a second, Israel. I've lost me. Oh, you know, I've closed my page. Slakia. John chapter 4. So this is why this sister was saying to him, How is it that you, being a Jew, is talking to me? Because the Jews don't have nothing to do with those of Samaritans, because they were seen as Gentiles. You know, we read in Hosea chapter 4 and 17, Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. So now, where am I? Yeah, Yahushua said unto her, Yahushua answered Slacky and said unto her, if thou knowest the gift of the Most High, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? So this is how you know that this sister was an Israelite, because she said, Art thou greater than our father Jacob? Remember, up here in verse 5 and 6, it speaks about the well. It said, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now Jacob's well was there. So this is why she's saying now, in verse 12, art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well? Now, if she was a non-Israelite, she couldn't be calling Jacob her father. Yeah? So, this is showing that when Yahushua said in Matthew 15:24, I'm not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel, he clearly showed a distinction with how he dealt with the sister that was at the well, because she was an Israelite, to how he dealt with the Canaanite woman. Because when the Canaanite woman came to him, he totally ignored her. Yeah? Now, when we go back to Jeremiah, because the northern kingdom, they went off. The Most High cut them off. But throughout time, and this prophecy even comes to us to today. Yeah? The southern kingdom also was going off. Now this is Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, the Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel has done? She is gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree, and there has played the harlot. And I said, after she had done all these things, turns out unto me, but she returned not, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it. So this is letting you know that, you know, the northern kingdom, they had gone off, played the harlot. The southern kingdom seen what they've done, but they themselves also started to go off. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby a backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away. Yeah? That was her being cut off, as we read in Hosea chapter 1, Isaiah chapter 7 and 8, and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks. And yet for all this treacherous sister, Judah has not turned unto me with her whole heart, but fiendly, saith the Lord. And this is what we've done to this day now. Yeah, this prophecy goes deep, because not only did the northern kingdom go off badly into idolatry, and the Most High cut them off, now during the captivities, we ourselves on the southern kingdom have also gone off and strayed totally from our God. So Yahushua needed to come back and to bring us back to the Father, you know, to make us one nation and one kingdom. Now, this is why when we read Matthew now, the angel said this to Mary, Matthew 1:21, and she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins. And why does he need to save us? Because throughout the captivities that we've been going through, we've been going off. We're going into those captivities because of our sins, because we kept straying from our power. You know, northern kingdom strayed, the Most High cut them off totally. And we've seen all of that, and we've not taken heed. You know, we've just been going off just as bad. And, you know, like I said, through this last captivity that we've been through, if it wasn't for the elders who's brought it back to our remembrance to who we are, we'll be calling ourselves Jamaican, St. Louisian, Asian, Nigerian, African American, Hispanics, all kinds of madness. We'll still be calling ourselves these Gentile names, you know, still keeping up these Gentile customs. So now these things are coming back to our memory, and we're repenting. And it's only because Yahushua died for his people, for the sins of his people, that we can now be adopted back to the Father. Yeah, so this is Matthew 1:21. And she shall bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Yahushua, for he shall save his people from their sins. And sin is the transgression of the law. The other nations were never given the law in the first place. You know, what we went through, what we read with King Solomon, Hosea, Jeremiah, that had nothing to do with the other nations. It was about Israel, the 12 tribes, breaking the laws of God, not following the statutes and commandments that he gave us. So like I said, the angel prophesied to Mary, told Mary that she's going to have a son who's going to save his people from their sins. Now when we go to Hebrews chapter 9 and 15, it says, and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament. The he is Yahushua, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, that they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. And those that are called are the Israelites. Yeah, the other nations were not called. Let me quickly clarify that. Give me a second, Israel. Let me just check something in my Bible. Isaiah. Yeah. See that when it comes to those who are called, it's the Israelites. You know, it's not the other nations. This is Isaiah 43:1. But now thus saith the Lord that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. I believe there's one in Isaiah 48. Let me quickly check. Isaiah 48. Like it is, give me a second. Give me a second. I redeemed thee. Yeah, Isaiah 48. Is that right? Yeah, Isaiah 48 and 12. Just to clarify who is called, man. So this is Isaiah 48 and 12. Hearken unto me, O Jacob, and Israel, my called. Just in case 43 wasn't clear enough. It says, hearken unto me, O Jacob, and Israel, my called. I am he, I am the first, I am also the last. So when we read in Hebrews chapter 9 and 15, it says, and for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament. Yeah, Yahushua is the mediator of that new covenant. That by means of death, yeah, he died for the redemption of the transgression, for the redemption of the sins that were under the first testament. Yeah, like the angel said, he shall save his people from their sins. They which are called, those that are called are the Israelites, might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. Because if Yahushua hadn't done that, we wouldn't have been able to receive the promises that the Most High made to our forefathers. And we know that he is a God of his word. So he had to put things in place for us to receive that promise. And that was Yahushua coming to die for our sins so that we could be adopted back to the Father, because we've gone astray. Not just the northern kingdom, but all 12 tribes have now gone astray. And now these things are coming back to our remembrance, and we're coming back to the covenant that we were under. And that's because of Yahushua. Now this is Galatians chapter 4 and 4. But when the fullness of the time was come, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoptions of sons. So that's basically what we just read in Hebrews. Yeah, is the media of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the sins that were under the First Testament. Paul's just repeating that here to the Galatians. I read that again, Galatians 4:4. But when the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his Son, Yahushua, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law. Who was under the law? The Israelites. That we might receive, the Israelites, those that were under the law, might receive the adoptions of sons. And that's one of the reasons why Yahushua had to come, so that we could be adopted back to the Father. Both kingdoms, northern and southern kingdom. And this is why Paul said what he said in Romans. This is Romans chapter 9, and I'll start at 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ, for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites. So this is speaking about the Israelites. Yeah, and we're not speaking about any spiritual Israelites. He said according to the flesh. So this is the physical seed. It says, to whom pertaineth the adoption. Why? Because Christ made it possible for us to be adopted back. Yeah, as we read in Hebrews, to redeem for the redemption of the sins, transgressions that were under the First Testament. Yeah. They which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. So this is why Christ died, so that we could be adopted back to the Father, to receive the promises that was made to our forefathers, because the Father is a power of his word. Now, this here is going to show, clarify fully now that we were two nations and two kingdoms. If all of that didn't satisfy your intellectual, to show that we became two nations and two kingdoms, and that Yahushua came to bring us back to making us be one kingdom and one nation, this should clarify it now. This is Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel his companions. So this is for the southern kingdom and those that are with them. That's why it says for Judah and the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions. So this is the northern kingdom, because Ephraim is the head tribe, and the other tribes that were with him. Verse 17, and join them to one another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand. And the sticks whereupon thou writest shall be one in thine hand before thine eyes. And this is what you see when you see brothers out on the highways and byways, with the names upon a board, upon a stick. You see them, instead of there being two nations and two kingdoms, you've got the whole 12 tribes on the board. People will pass, they'll explain to them what they mean by these signs, by these names on the sign. So this is prophecy we actually see fulfilling when we see the brothers on the highways and byways, edifying the masses as to who we are, pointing out, where you from, what does this world call you? Are you called an African American? Oh, well, according to the sign, you be from the tribe of Judah. Are you called a Latino? Oh, from the sign, you'll be called an Ephraimite, something like that, so on and so forth. They're explaining what the sign means, and that's just prophecy. And what did it say? And join them, verse 17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. So this is what you're seeing now, brothers showing the people them, who we are according to the signs that they have, and the signs got all 12 tribes together now. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen. So this is what he's going to do when Yahushua returns, because we're coming back to being one nation and one kingdom, but that's going to be fully established when Yahushua returns, gather us from all the nations where we're scattered. Yeah, so it says, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Yeah, because right about now, we're not in our own land. We're in our enemy's land. And I will make them one nation. Why? In the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. That's Yahushai. And they shall be no more two nations. Because like we started off, after King Solomon died, we split into two nations. It started off under Jeroboam and Rehoboam, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So I read that again. Ezekiel 37 and 22. And I will make them one nation. That's why when you read in Acts 10 as well, when Peter was speaking to Cornelius, they said, that it's unlawful for a man that is a Jew to come unto one of another nation. Not knowing the history, that's been taught when he says one of another nation, that is speaking about someone outside of the children of Israel. But knowing that after the split, we became two nations and two kingdoms, now it makes more sense. So it says, and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountain of Israel, and one king shall be to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgression. But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. And this is what's happening now. The Lord is putting us back together to being one people now. Yeah, one nation. And that's going to be fully established when Yahushua returns, gather us from where we've been scattered, brings us back into the land. We fully come under that new covenant where we won't be teaching our brothers, to know the Lord, because all will know him from the least to the greatest. The Lord's going to be inside us. So one of the purpose of Yahushua coming and dying was to adopt us back to the Father, so that we are no more two nations. No more two nations, neither divided into two kingdoms. Yeah? So hopefully with that you can get some understanding. It's been a bit longer than I expected it to be, but hopefully it was edifying. And with that, I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakar Kadash, Kwam Yasharallah.